Welcome back, everybody, to the Don't Go Out There Horror Movie Review Podcast. Just want to thank all our fans and listeners. I really appreciate all support. You guys are awesome. Before we get into tonight's film review, I just want to give a quick shout out to our website, don'tgoouthere.com. We got everything you need on that about our podcast on our website. You know, our episodes, our interviews, our blog, our store. We got some new T-shirts out. Check those out; they're awesome. We also got like all of our social media links: Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok. Go follow us, like us, subscribe to us on those platforms. We like to interact with all our fans. And speaking of fan interaction, we got a lot of questions and comments for tonight's
yes, we do.
film review for sure. So I appreciate all the feedback. A lot of really good questions too. So that just speaks to how popular this franchise is. One last thing before we get to the film review. We have a Patreon we've set up, in the past few months, one-time donation or, the traditional monthly reoccurring. If you want to help us out, we get a lot of fans who ask how they can help us. Just check out our website. Maybe you want us to review a movie, or maybe you want to come on our show one day. Just check out our website. Those options are available. Tonight is Brother Mike's pick. I'm not going to steal his thunder. I'll let him tell the crowd, the audience, why he picked this movie. Go ahead, Mike.
Okay, so tonight's movie, and if you're listening to this, you already know because you saw the title of this episode, but tonight's film is Scream 3. We've done 1, 2, and 4. Why we did them out of order is none of your business. That's just how we do things sometimes. But I'm happy that we're getting to do Scream 3. I wanted to pick this in January, but we have something coming up in January where it didn't quite line up how I think this would have been. So obviously we needed to finish the franchise before the new Scream. I Scream 5 to me till it ain't, damn it. We wanted to finish the franchise as a podcast before we went in to that film, because there's only 4 movies, which is, pretty rare in the horror franchises to only have 4 films. Normally there's 7 by now, which this movie kind of touches on, and definitely Scream 4 touches on. Right. But also, it's December. I originally wanted to pick a certain movie, which we're still going to do as a bonus for all of you. So instead of that, I went with Scream 3 because it needed to be done. And it's an interesting, don't shoot the messenger here, but it's an interesting discussion episode, which I know Brian just loves. But I actually think he will like this one because he, like me, and Brother Dustin, who's not with us tonight, loves the Scream franchise. And so this one's near and dear to us. Brother Nico's going to be fighting for his fucking life like R. Kelly.
I doubt it. Actually, not on this one.
But I look, here's the thing. I've said on this show many times that if Scream 3 is the worst movie in your franchise, you're doing okay. It's not this great, thing of film or whatever, but I don't think it's as bad as things like Freddy's Dead or, Friday Part 8, for me at least. If you like that movie, good for you. Halloween 5 is the drizzling shits to me. So it's not in that realm by any stretch. I would consider it one of those mid-tier ones that are just, so-so. Obviously, this movie wasn't written by Kevin Williamson. I think that knocks it down a peg, which I'm sure Brian's going to get into, which is why I'm not trying to steal his thunder here. But still directed by Wes Craven. So to me, this movie's well made. It's well shot. There's a lot that I do like upon a further rewatch. I watched it 2 times this week to prepare for this review. I'm almost, I'll be honest, when we re-rank, I had 2 higher than 3, but upon a rewatch.
Oh, whoa.
God damn.
Whoa.
Upon a rewatch, Scream 2 drags in the middle so much with the song scene and the theater scene and all those other things. Scream 3 is not good. It's not very good, but it is fun in a way. And I know that Dead Meat and them kind of talked about it on their podcast a few weeks ago, and I tend to agree with them. Now, there's a lot that I don't like about this movie. I hate the voice changer. I think it's ridiculous. I think it's stupid. We're going to talk about that. I don't think they don't kill off anyone of substance, to me at least, which I'm kind of begging for. As much as I like that OG3, I kind of want somebody to go. And so I'm rambling. I'm excited to talk about it because Scream is near and dear to my heart. And I will say this one does have the worst Ghostface reveal to me out of all 4 films. I think that can't be undone. Whether they try to ignore it in Scream 4 is not, it's canon in my head. I can't forget it. So, yeah, I'm excited to talk about it. I don't want to give too much away because there's a lot to dive into and some good questions. By the way, before you watch Scream 3, pause this here, go read Brian's prequel to Scream, and it will make this movie a million times better. Thank you.
All right, I'll go first or next, Brian. I'll let you finish off this shit sandwich. I'm just kidding. If you're watching on YouTube, you see I got a Scream shirt on. So as much as crap as I've talked in the past, I really don't hate the franchise that much. It's pretty solid, honestly, except this one. You know, we did our 31 on 31. I think we all kind of said if this is the worst one, you're doing all right. And I guess you're not wrong, but after a couple of rewatches, I really just did not like this movie. The haircut, so distracting. It's very distracting, honestly, to me. Maybe that's petty, but it's very distracting because, and like Mike said, it's like this is a Wes Craven movie. This is his 3rd one in this franchise he created. I just expected a lot more. Maybe that has a lot to do with Kevin Williamson not writing it. I don't know, but seeing Sydney's mom, like she reminded me of like the Reagan from Scary Movie 2. It annoyed. It's distracting. Like the way she looked. The way she looked.
I didn't see. Oh, I didn't think about that. Now I can't unsee that. Now
I'm telling you, man. This.
Oh no. You ruined it for me.
And honestly, this might be a weird thing to say or a hot take, or it might not even make sense to some people. But Scream 3, honestly, just kind of it makes me dislike Scream 4 a little more, but like it more at the same time. Just because you brung in a family member that we didn't know about 2 times in a row. I really feel like Scream 4 would be a lot better if it wasn't for Scream 3. Maybe that makes sense. I don't know. But I don't know. I just expect more out of Scream 3, I guess. Go ahead, Brian.
Well,
I'm not a fan, though.
Well, first off, and I wish Dustin was on here to defend his boy, David Arquette, but it's David Arquette's fault that Courtney Cox has that haircut. He suggested to her that she cut her hair like Betty Page, which is exactly why she has this haircut in this movie.
It's rough.
David Arquette stinks. Brad Pitt would have been way better.
Oh, hey Dustin, hope you're listening. Brad Pitt way better than Ethan Hawke. Way better than Ed Norton.
Was good.
Did I say Ethan Hawke was bad? And Brad Pitt is certainly better than David Arquette, but you can't kill him, so go ahead.
Okay.
I will say that I did like Cotton Weary getting killed. I think that was a pretty decent name to kill off.
Yeah, that's fair. That's a fair argument. It's fair.
I agree. So first off, I would like to issue a retractment for a comment that I said last week regarding this. I said Williamson wrote the treatment to this and Aaron Kruger wrote the script. That was only half true. Williamson actually wrote a treatment for this and Kruger said, fuck this, and threw it out and wrote his own. And actually, like, Williamson ended up using a lot of his ideas from that outline for Chris Nolan's The Following and a lot of it in Scream 4. It was actually supposed to be in Woodsboro as well, not Hollywood. In fact, Kruger's script was such a clusterfuck. It was written mostly on the fly, like pages were supposedly even being completed the day they were supposed to be filming. And the characters were written so completely opposite of Scream 1 and 2, even Wes Craven had to step in and do some rewrites on some of it. So, like, and on top of that, Craven honestly only agreed to do this movie under the condition that he be allowed to make music of the heart that he wanted to do and on top of the producers, the MPAA pressuring to tone down the violence because of Columbine, at one point even demanding that no blood be seen in the film at all. It's no wonder this movie is such a fucking mess. I mean, every single plot point to me in this, including the Maureen Prescott stuff, all seems just shoehorned in. And like we brought up last week too, this is why I wrote that treatment for the Scream prequel that we did, which basically makes this one matter a little bit more. I mean, go listen to that episode. Not trying to toot my own horn, really, but I have gotten a lot of really good feedback on that. So, don'tgooutthere.com on the blog, by the way.
Oh, they're right. It's good.
And but anyway, let me try to be positive on this. And there are some positive. It's nice to see my family again. Like we've talked about, meaning Sid, Dewey, Gail. You get attached to these characters, and they kind of become family to you. The soundtrack is good as always, and and what you've come to really expect from this franchise.
On now. Oh, sorry.
The sets from the first Scream, I think, were a fantastic idea. Craven's, from what I believe I read correctly, and the poster is really cool. So there you go.
Brian, real quick before we start, the Scream original sets look awesome, but why are the original Woodsboro sets in Stab 3?
Oh, I can. When we get to that, we can talk about that some.
Okay.
I do actually have an answer for that. I do remember.
Oh, good. No, really.
Actually, since I watched it today, it was stuck in my head. But also, like, seriously, sidebar. And look, I'm really going to sound like a hater on Aaron Kruger, and it's because I pretty much am. I mean, like, has the dude ever seriously written anything good? I know he wrote The Ring, which we talked about some.
Pretty good.
Is that it? Like, according to his IMDb page, he has fucking Top Gun 2 coming out, so that's just fucking great. I actually like Top Gun, so he's going to ruin that movie, I'm sure. That should be a shit show. But I mean, like, him,
what's Top Gun?
Like, I used to hate this movie so much that when I found out, and when we first started doing this podcast, I remember having this conversation with y'all. Like, when I found out that Kruger wrote half of Scream 4, it made me dislike Scream 4 more, just because, like, I was like, I know which fucking half he wrote, and now I hate it more. But, like, we reviewed it. I grew up a little bit. Like, okay, all right. But then this is just bringing up some bad feelings for me on Aaron Kruger.
Hey, fair enough.
Yep.
Any more opening thoughts before we jump into it?
No, man. Let's go.
All right, guys. It's pretty exciting, honestly, thinking about we're doing all 4 of the Scream movies. I wish Scream 5 Cream, Scream 2022 was going to be on
5 Cream.
5 Cream.
I wish it was 5 Cream so bad.
I mean, it was right there for them, and they didn't do it.
Exactly.
That's why they didn't do it, because they didn't want people calling it 5 Cream. But that's bullshit.
Okay, then just do Scream 5. I mean, Jesus Christ.
I just wish it would be on streaming, just so we can review it.
I agree.
You never know. Maybe the movie gods will give that to us. All right, but here's the opening. The film starts with a helicopter flying over the Hollywood sign, and they report on a highway crash. We're with Cotton Weary now, who's on the phone working deals and talking scripts. He gets another call who's the wrong number, but they recognize the voice as Cotton Weary. His voice is sexy, she says. He asks if she's a big 100% Cotton fan. It's like his radio show. He now reveals the voice of Ghostface, and he's outside his girlfriend's shower as she's taking one. Answer right or wrong, or I kill her. He asks where's Sydney, and he doesn't answer right, and Ghostface hangs up. Christine gets out the shower, and we see Cotton calling her phone over and over as he runs a red light, almost losing control of the car. We see phone line has been cut as Cotton races through traffic. Music suddenly turns on at Christine's place. She follows the music and turns it off. She hears a door open, and she hears Cotton's voice. She's relieved at first, then she sees Ghostface. She runs and falls, but locks herself in her room, but the voice is Cotton's again. He says he's just pranking her and apologizes, then says it's going to be fun ripping her insides out as he stabs the door. Cotton makes it home finally and calls for Christine. Cotton grabs a fire pick and walks the halls. He sees the stabs in the door and barges through the door. Christine swings a golf club at him, hitting his head. Ghostface appears behind her, stabbing her to death. He now cuts Cotton's arm, and they start to fight. Ghostface reveals the voice-changing box and says, "You lose, Cotton," as he stabs him into a title card. Now we see Sydney walking her dog on this rural road. She locks her gate and sets the alarm. She goes inside her house and locks up and sets another alarm. She gets on her computer and her phone. She works as a woman's crisis agent. She takes the call and listens to her. Now we see Gail with a terrible hairdo, and she's giving a lecture as she closes. Someone asks if they should be cutthroat like her, and was it worth it? Gail is told someone is outside to see her. It's Detective Kincaid. He tells her about Cotton's death. He now shows Gail a photo of Maureen Prescott. Back to Sydney, she sees on the news about Cotton's death. We're now on a studio set for Stab 3, and the press is hounding them. Roman and John Milton are making their case for their movie not to be called off. We now meet our actors who are portraying the original cast, who all hope they don't lose their job. Gail walks in and is amazed by the deja vu. She runs into Jennifer, who is her character. They're both being sassy to each other, and Dewey shows up. Dewey tells her he works there and he has to get back to work, but they're stopped by Dewey's character. He tells her he loves the story about his wreck being falsely reported on. John Milton sees Gail and has her immediately removed from set. Dewey says it was great seeing her. Gail is kicked out as we get a Jay and Silent Bob cameo. All right, Brian, that's the opening I got. Go ahead.
So, yeah, this opening isn't bad to me at all. It may be the weakest of the four thus far. I mean, we're recording this in December of 21, but I don't know. It's right there with part 2, I think, on if I was ranking the openings of these movies. And something you kind of got to do with the Scream franchise, maybe. I am glad, like Nico said, that it's someone that, kind of has been part of our Scream family since part 1. So you don't really need a whole lot of build up to build up this character, or it's somebody like Jada Pinkett Smith and or whoever in part 2 that really you didn't know, you didn't have any connection to. But I think 100% Cotton, by the way, is a fucking awesome name for a show, and in 2000 probably would have been Liev Schreiber's AOL Instant Messenger screen name. You young bucks don't know about no AOL chat rooms, age, sex, location, ASL, baby. There you go. Also, graphic design nerd, the font that 100% Cotton logo it uses is Broken 74. It's the same font they use for ECW. Anyway, it was apparently Liev Schreiber's idea to even be killed here, so I can't even give credit to Cougar on even that good idea. But an alternate opening here was apparently written by whom, I don't know, but it was never really filmed anyway. It actually had Sydney and a friend of hers alone in her house. In a completely different state, I guess, getting ready to watch a video. The killer calls Sydney and her friend, claiming he's in the house watching them, which turns out to be true. Sydney pulls out a gun and fucking hoses the killer, takes his mask off, and it turns out to be just some crazy fan. I don't know if I like that enough to replace this with Cotton with, but hell, why not have both? I mean, go from this scene here with Cotton to that. I don't know. That sounds pretty cool, actually. But Schreiber, I think, is really good in this. Actually, this is a good time to talk about how much I actually hate the voice box being able to fucking emulate everyone's voice in this one. I mean, look, it's already a stretch that all these killers, change their voice into Roger L. Jackson, Ghostface of the Scream franchise. And you're listening to, oh, my bad. I kind of get into that every time I say his name. I've listened to his intro he did for us so many damn times.
You'll hear it at the start of this show.
Yes, you will. But like I said, that's already a stretch. But we've kind of come to accept that, and we want that because he makes this so much better. But now it can emulate fucking literally anyone's voice. I hate it. I hate it so much. I get why they did it. It takes things to the next level, but I hate it. I think it's lazy. Kelly Rutherford plays Christine, who's actually originally Kate Hudson, but she backed out at the last minute. But Rutherford was in a Gossip Girl, and for the longest time, I really thought she was honestly a younger Jessica Capshaw. They look a ton alike to me anyway. But it's funny that Schreiber wanted to take the jacket off here because apparently he'd been working out and wanted to show it off some. True story. But I will say the fight choreography I didn't think was good. It was all right. It was just wasn't very, I don't know. It wasn't very believable. I thought it was not a very good part of the opening there. My least favorite part of it. There's a couple more things. Like I said, my opening, it's nice to see our family again. Nev looks fantastic in this again. And that coupled with the music, I think really takes you back to Woodsboro in my mind. So it's weird to see some random hideaway in the woods. But it definitely does make sense that she would have moved, away, certainly after trying a normal life in part 2. Apparently Nev's contract actually only allowed her to be on set for just 20 days, which is why Sydney has less screen time, which is totally noticeable. Now, obviously, that allows a little more growth for the supporting characters, which at this point, I think they've actually, they deserve, especially Dewey and Gale. I think it's kind of dumb to have a detective, shout out Patrick Dempsey, by the way. But I think it's dumb to have a detective go that. I mean, he would go right to Gale, who to ask a person who is in a picture, they wouldn't know that. And she's not even a fucking cop. But lastly, Lance Henderson, Aliens. I've always loved you, especially in this exchange with the fucking detective. It doesn't have anything to do with this, right? You're making a movie called Stabbed. He was stabbed. I don't know. I fucking love that.
I love that line. That's a good line.
But I didn't care for the dialogue between Gale and, Gale. I don't mind the casting of Parker Posey. I like her in most things. Great vampire, by the way. Shout out Blade 3. But her character just sucks in this. Absolutely sucks in this. And I think that they really missed the boat casting Emily Mortimer here and not Tori Spelling from Stab 1. Just throwing that out there too. So go ahead.
Yeah, I don't know if that was even an idea or what. But I thought that too. I was like, man, you had a really good opportunity to just keep Dory Spelling. But anyway, all right. So I like this beginning too. I'm a fan of all the stuff with Cotton Weary. Uh, I like that he kind of finally got what he's been after this whole time, which is, fame, success.
Yeah.
It's interesting to see the development, but he's kind of big for his britches here. You're not necessarily rooting against Cotton Weary, but he's not coming off as like the best person ever. Kind of like he was the hero at the end of Scream 2, and you kind of turn around here and he's got a good thing going, but he's a little bit more of a jerk, if you ask me. But as far as his kill and his girlfriend's kill, I like it. I think, again, you're not going to get anything super original from the Scream franchise as far as the kills. I've said on this show many times, stabs to the gut, stabs to the back, stabs to the ass, whatever it is. That's why the movie within the movie is called Stab, because it's just a lot of stabs. But I do think it's good. I think what really brings this down for me is something Brian touched on that I touched on in my open, which is the voice changer. I do think that's a silly idea. I don't like it. I think it's illogical. That technology really doesn't even exist now, much less in 2000. I mean, I'm sure there's somebody that has something that can change your voice to sound like Morgan Freeman. I see it. I can't even do it. So, like,
no way. There's no way that there's anything out there right now that can make you sound like that. Yeah.
Right. That's my point. Unless you're Frank Caliendo, you're not sounding like a lot of other people. He's a human voice changer. But you should have got him on set to do all the voices. He probably could have done it. But anyway, I'll say that doesn't necessarily bring the movie down a ton for me, but it is something that gets on my nerves throughout the movie because it kind of feels like a cheap cop-out for why Ghostface would call this person or to get – it feels like a bad plot device to move pieces along. Kind of like I kind of compare it to Halloween 2018 with Dr. Sartain. It's a bad plot device, in my opinion. Mm-hmm. And I think they're kind of the same thing. So here we are. We get Gail, and she has an awful haircut. She's admitted as such. It's not a good do there by Courtney Cox. I do blame you, David Arquette, you son of a bitch. But something that they've done in the Scream franchise, and they kind of touch on it finally in Scream 4, is they kind of, in Scream 2 and 3, they kind of let Gail off the hook with some of her blood money stuff. It's just like, oh, that's just Gail Weathers. This student stands up and says something like, hey, you're kind of making a lot of money off the backs of innocent victims and stuff. Mm-hmm. You're kind of worth it? Yeah, I mean, was it worth it? I like that that's at least a question. Again, they kind of brush it off. Scream 4 is where they really kind of hit it up, where it's like, Gail, you're doing the same thing you've always been doing. So, like, I kind of like that about Scream 4, but we don't get a ton of it here. You get her being kind of an asshole to Dewey, which I don't like, because obviously Dewey's still madly in love with her. I also, Brian, do like Parker Posey. I don't like her as Gail Weathers light. I don't think it works. I don't think it fits. I'm not a big fan of any of these so-and-so light characters. I don't think any of them work real well. The closest one that does is Parker Posey. But even then, when you put them together, there's almost, to me, they lack that natural chemistry, Courtney Cox and Parker Posey. So, like, I'm not a fan of that. Not necessarily the casting, but just that character. Like, I'm not a big fan of that.
Yeah, the way it was written,
Yeah. I think it's funny that they kicked the real Gail Weathers off of the set of Stab 3 instead of the fake. Like, it just, and here's Dewey, who's a consultant on the film, and they kicked the real Gail Weathers because she's a reporter, quote unquote, off the set. I found that to be kind of funny. And I actually am a fan of the Jay and Silent Bob cameo. It makes me laugh. First of all, I love Jay and Silent Bob. I love that she gives them the finger because they call her Connie Chung. That shit's hilarious. But yeah, this is so as far as opens go out of the franchise, this is the weakest one. I don't think there's any doubt about that, but it's not awful. Like, I like the Cotton Weary stuff, and I like that we're back in Woodsboro, or not Woodsboro, but we're back with our Woodsboro crew. in Los Angeles or Hollywood or whatever the fuck you want to call it.
So you would rank this 4th out of the 4 that we've seen
Out of the
openings?
yes, I would say this is I would say so.
You like
And
Scream 2? You like Scream 2's better?
yeah, I do. I like the movie theater
Yeah.
part where everyone's wearing Ghostface masks. I think that's a cool visual. And I think there's a lot of cool visuals there. Plus, I can't help but think of Scary Movie 2 when I see my man get stabbed in the ear. So it's really just that helps it out a little bit. That's the first time Scary Movie's ever helped out Scream instead of knocking it down because people laugh at the Ghostface mask.
All right. Sydney and her dad are at home and talking about her mom, and it's happening again. He wishes she'd come home. Psychos can't kill what they can't find, Sydney says, as her dad worries about her being alone. Sydney is asleep, and we see pictures of her and her mom. We also see a woman in a white dress walk through her gate and up to her house. Sydney wakes and looks through the window, and the woman is her mom, who says Mother needs to talk to her. And then she calls her poison. Everything she touches dies, as her mom falls down the window with like bloody hands. Jump scaring is Ghostface as Sydney really wakes up. Back to the studio, and Sarah walks inside calling for Roman. She says she needs a new agent because of this job. She hears noises but can't find anyone. She's jump scared when Tyson jumps out at her. She answers a phone call. It's Roman. He says he's 10 minutes away. He says, let's talk about her character. She's not happy about it. He asks to run the lines. She recites her lines now, and then he says the name Sarah, and she complains they can't learn their lines when the script changes all the time. Now he says Sarah gets gutted like a pig, and she's scared and runs away. She hides in a prop room and sees several Ghostface costumes hung up. She hides among them and makes a call for help. We see a security guard looking around who turns the lights off and locks the door. One of the Ghostface reveal themselves and pushes the cart, knocking her to the floor. She keeps attacking him with plastic props. Then she's hit and then stabbed in the back and killed. Gail is at lunch with Dewey now. They talk about their issues. She hated living in Woodsboro and tried to be the next Diane Sawyer. He asks why couldn't you just be Gail Weathers. He tells her some off the record info now. Dewey believes someone on the film is trying to find Sydney. Dewey gets a message from Jennifer and he has to leave. Dewey and Gail get to Jennifer's house and Stone tells them about another murder. It was Sarah. They were being killed in the original order. Gail asks who dies third. They hand her a script and Gail asks Dewey about getting killed in Stab 3, and she's pissed Dewey lives in the trailer by her house. Dewey roasts Gail now about not appreciating his attributes in a relationship. Stone tells Dewey his resume stinks and he needs to take orders from him. Back to Sarah's death scene and the cops discuss killers in other movies. Kincaid shows Gail more pictures of Maureen. There's 3 scripts and we don't know which one the killer read, so they don't know who dies next. All right, go ahead, Brian.
Yes, so it was really cool. I thought getting to see Lawrence Hecht a little bit, screen time as Neil Prescott finally, and it was nice little family moment between he and Sydney. That's something we've never really gotten in the past. I think Nev does fantastic work there in that little bit. I think that bit with before this live on air here, I thought the bit with Lynn McRae as Maureen, I thought it was genuinely one of the creepiest scenes in the franchise thus far. I was like, wow, that actually pretty good. But now that's been ruined live for me on the episode by your host, Nico Chen. And now I can't see anything but Reagan. But anyway, okay, so the Jenny McCarthy scene. By the way, am I the only one that had a Jenny McCarthy poster from Spencer's Gifts on my wall?
Jenny McCarthy.
Don't me.
Call me because you're kind of weird, but call me here in the year 2000. Holy smokes.
Oh, well, yeah, I may have had a poster from Spencer's Gifts on my wall. I don't know. Move along, nothing to see here.
Good for my man Jim Carrey at one point in his life.
Right.
Anyway.
But anyway, sorry, she's not a good actress. Like, not helped, I know, by terrible dialogue. Talking to herself the whole time just to fill dead air. I don't know. Everything about this to me is pretty bad. I do love the meta-ness. I don't even know. Is that a word? Meta-ness, meta of the cast being pissed about the script rewrites, being that is exactly what was going on with this real movie.
Slap all that meta on my face right here. It's almost over the board and I love it.
But Jackson saying, Sarah gets skewered like a fucking pig. Really, the only part that I really care about in any of this, entire scene, maybe. The rest is just bad. I think her death was too quick. It's non-realistic and just blah. I know they tried with her, hiding in all of the Scream costumes, and that's not a bad idea. I just didn't care for the execution. Like, it just really made for a good shot in the trailer. And maybe it's because the trailer spoiled it with the Ghostface peeking around the others, but it really just didn't hit live like you would expect it to in here. I will say I like the focus on Gale and Dewey, and you can really tell, their real life chemistry. Courtney had a great line in an interview. She said, "I was just flirting with David on the first one, sleeping with him in the second, and we shared a trailer in the third." But you can really see that in this movie. I think it shines through. Plus they look tan as AF, and apparently it was because they just got finished vacationing in the Bahamas. But they really are the bright spot in this movie. Parker Posey's character, that's the other thing. I don't even care enough about their names in this. It's like, what is it? Parker playing Jennifer playing Gale? Like, what? I don't know. Whatever. Jennifer, it's annoyingly written, like I said. And then we get Patrick Warburton as the bodyguard. Like, I don't know how you don't just see Joe Swanson from Family Guy. But he's just, to me, he's terribly written cliche here. Like, his exchange with Dewey isn't bad, but that's literally his shining moment in a whole world of shit that is the rest of these lines in this. But Stone Cold was actually considered for that role, and he would have made it so much better, so much more believable. And lastly, Patrick Dempsey. I didn't really talk about him yet, but he's a good, I would say good, decent addition maybe to the cast. They try to like build up a relationship with Gale, but it doesn't seem, I don't know. It doesn't seem real, or maybe they tried to, I don't know. We'll get to that to the end. I don't want to touch on that too much till the end, but obviously this is before Dempsey got real big with Grey's Anatomy, and you can tell how green he is, but hell, like, he was hired literally the day before shooting and had one night to learn all of his dialogue heavy scenes. I know he's supposed to be the other red herring here, but honestly, it probably would have just been better that he'd been one of the killers. At one point during production, Detective Wallace, that other dude, was going to be one of the killers. But hell, I don't think they knew what the hell to even do with Kincaid, or Kruger just was shitty and forgot about him because he completely just disappears in this movie like Judge Reinhold did last week in Gremlins. And the damn producers had to insist that he was even in that third act because they noticed he just disappeared. It's just fucking just fantastic. Fantastic. Go ahead.
I like that we get a cameo from Sid's dad here.
Yeah.
I hadn't seen him since the first film. That was kind of good. And I like Sydney's character here. I think, or at least I do later in the film. I think right here she's kind of trying to run and hide, which I understand. But the Sidney Prescott we know wouldn't do that, so she kind of flips on that pretty quick. And I like that. I like that, she cares enough about the phone call that she does get in a little while that she has to come see what's going on. But I like that we get her and her dad. It ties it back to the first movie, which is the last time we saw her dad. And I'll say this. Having the context of Brian's prequel in my head makes me care about the Maureen Prescott character more. But if you take that out, I do not care about Maureen Prescott at all. Which is wild because she's the central plot of the first film, really.
Yeah.
Faces Sydney, your mother is no Sharon Stone. She's such a central character without ever really appearing on screen. And so this movie's almost too much about her to me. And there's just a lot of dialogue about Maureen. And I get it. There's a picture of Maureen Prescott at every crime scene. And I understand that. And I do like the fact that they're killing people off in the order of the script, or at least in this part of the film. I like that kind of narrative as the movie goes. I like me some Patrick Warburton, man. I know he's, Peter Griffin's next door neighbor, but I think he's really good here, man. I know he's kind of stock, but I think he's supposed to be stock. That's upon this rewatch, I will say, as much as I don't like these light characters, from the Stab movie, I think they're supposed to be bad. They're supposed to be watered down versions of the characters that we know and love. So it didn't bother me as much this time because I think I read that in US Weekly or one of those sites I read an article on this morning trying to gather some research where it was intended that way, and whether you like that or not is really, up to you. But I like this character of Kincaid. Shout out to Patrick Dempsey. Here's what I'll say. Too much of a red herring. It was almost like the boyfriend in the second one, Jerry O'Connell. I know. By the way, I talked about it in Scream 2. They left his age open-ended. That man looked like he was 41 dating 19-year-old Sidney Prescott. That's all I'm going to say. But anyway, no, they leave him a little bit too much of a red herring to me. It's so obvious that he obviously can't be the killer. Part of me wishes he was the killer because that's very Billy Loomis. And if we're going back to the first one where Billy's so obvious that he's not, that it can't be him. They've made it too obvious. They've already arrested him. They cleared his name, all that other stuff. I think that this would have been a better killer than what we get, which I'll get to. But I don't hate this set of scenes. There's just a part of me that thinks here and the next set are a little bit of filler. We didn't talk about it on the air, I don't think, but this movie's too long for a Scream film. Scream 2 is too long, actually. Scream 3 is just as long to me. So, I don't hate this set of scenes, but it feels like a lot of dialogue filler, which Nico kind of touched on, that this movie's dialogue heavy. It's kind of hard to take notes.
Oh, yeah. So appreciate y'all giving me a little bit of a pass because I felt like it was very dialogue heavy. Roman is bitching about his movie being stopped, and cops ask Roman about his meeting with Sarah. He says they're trying to ruin his movie and he never spoke with her. Sydney takes a call from a woman with a crisis. She says she killed someone. Sydney tells her she needs to call the police. Her voice changes and Sydney looks around. She says she's her mother and to turn on the news. She hears about the next murder from Stab 3. Ghostface now reveals his voice and she grabs a gun. Back to Jennifer's house and we see Stone walking the perimeter. Dewey walks inside and sees Tom ripping up the script, and Angelina walks outside visibly upset. Gail makes it back to the house. She sees Dewey and Jennifer together and follows them outside the house. She overhears how she's narcissistic, but Dewey says she has a good heart. Jennifer says it sounds like he's still in love with her. Stone catches her and brings her inside. He tells him she was eavesdropping. Gail tells Dewey Roman's call came from a clone phone, and she shows Dewey the picture of Maureen and asks about her age. She tells him there's a time where there's no information on her. Gail says Maureen disappeared 2 years before she met Sydney's father. Dewey says he doesn't think like a homicidal maniac. He shows Gail the picture of Jennifer, and it's in the same spot as Maureen in one of her pictures. Dewey says he's got to make calls. Stone is inside Dewey's trailer, and Dewey calls him, asking him to come watch Jennifer. But it's actually Ghostface, and he comes from a bedroom and stabs Stone in the back. He kicks him into the wall, then hits him with a frying pan twice. Gail asks Dewey where everyone is, and they all come inside as Dewey almost shoots them. Stone appears at the open front door and collapses dead with a knife in his back. Dewey orders everyone inside when he hears a noise outside. They run outside when the lights go out. They answer the ringing fax. It's a script page. The movie is being rewritten. They say it's a trap and to get outside. Jennifer yells, "I want to know what happens." Tom goes inside to read the script but can't see. He lights a lighter and the house explodes, killing him, as the rest manage to escape, falling down a hill. Dewey calls for Jennifer and Gail. He finds Gail and Ghostface almost attacks her, but Dewey shoots at him, saving her. Ghostface crawls under the car and Dewey falls down the hill to her. He looks under the car but can't find Ghostface. He's fast. I could have sworn I hit him. "Thanks for saving me," Gail says, and they almost share a kiss, and Jennifer stops him. She snaps on him, punching him, and then Gail punches her. "My lawyer liked that," she tells Gail. Angelina walks up to them and she says, Tom was in the house. Are we safe?" Dewey looks under the car and finds another picture of Maureen, and on the back it says, "I killed her." All right, go ahead, Brian.
So Roman holds this, like, first off, Roman, it's just really hard to like his character. And it's not Scott Foley's fault. Look, this was his first film. He was big in Felicity at the time. But the fact that he's at least half, maybe not the whole thing, he's at least half based off of producer Bob Weinstein. Pretty sure John Milton is the other half and probably the majority of it. And, I was going to say that I'm sure that they didn't know at the time, but come the fuck on. Like, I'm sure everybody knew about Weinstein if you worked with him. But the fact that he even has some of his traits in here, it's distracting. It affects the character of Roman and Milton both for me without question. The scene, albeit I don't like how it just feels forced into this movie and out of nowhere. But Neve Campbell, again, she does such a tremendous job with the tears, acting scared. Just a ridiculously great performance here from such a good actress. And then, bam, like it's like a 2-minute scene, and then we're back to Parker's house with Emily Mortimer and Matt Kessler. And I mean, what? Like, I'm not trying to talk shit about their acting. It's just, to me, and maybe they're supposed to be bad, like Mike said, but it's just really bad written dialogue to me. And it's very contrasted with the scene that we just watched with Sydney. I mean, hell, Alicia Silverstone turned down the role of Mortimer, that role that Mortimer got. And I mean, I don't blame her, but damn, like we could have gotten Alicia Silverstone there. But again, this Maureen plot is exactly why I wrote that prequel treatment. I mean, it doesn't completely help this movie, but at the very least, it helps the story with Maureen not feeling so forced. Because, like, as a fan, you're just like, wait, what? Like, and this whole entire scene at the house, and them running in and out, go outside, let's go inside, outside, and what does that page say? I mean, it's just, this has zero tension. It's almost like I'm just sitting here watching a parody, Scary Movie 4 or 5. Not even the good parodies, like 1 or 2. You know, Dewey clearly shooting the killer like 3 times. But then you get the whole goofball, like, whoa, I'm falling. It's just, and I think I even said in the Scream 2 movie review, but like, just have one of the killers be exposed right there. Like, let there be 2 again.
Yeah,
make one of the cops, one of them or something, and he kills him here. Like, that would have just added more untrustworthiness to Kincaid. The rest of the movie, I don't know. It's just, to me, it's bad writing. Now, Tom's exploding death, not bad. I like those effects there. But Angelina isn't even like believable red herring that she's supposed to be there. Gail punching Gail instead of being punched this time was just too on the nose for me. Are we safe? Let's look at another picture. Like, I don't. Terrible set of scenes to me, besides Nev's 1 or 2 minutes.
Yeah, I agree with a lot of what you had to say, Brian. Roman's a very unlikable character as the director, kind of a dictator on set, for lack of a better term. He's an ass. He's the opposite of the vibe that Wes Craven has. I think that's kind of what they were going for, honestly. And so him being taken away by the cops is, to me, the first time I ever saw this was kind of like, okay, he's inconsequential. Didn't think he was going to come back into play at all, honestly, because I just don't think the character is that strong. Now, obviously, he comes back later and plays a pretty big part. But I'm just not a fan of the character of Roman. And again, it's not the actor's portrayal or anything. I just don't like the way it's written. All this. So then you get a lot of these light characters, which, Brian talked about the Sydney Light and how I don't think that was great casting. I mean, she's not bad or anything. She's good in some other stuff. I just personally, for me, she doesn't give that Sidney Prescott vibe. And so it's very watered down, and her dialogue here is very unbelievable. They're kind of celebrating, or they're not celebrating, but they're ripping up scripts and all this other stuff. And, I'm going to cut right to the Ghostface part of this, because I think it's the biggest problem with this film. And there's some good stuff here. I actually don't mind this quote-unquote chase scene. I don't mind the stuff with Dewey and Gale. I think some of it's good because I like Dewey and Gale on screen together. I think it works. The chemistry is really, really good. Obviously, since they at that time were together in real life, they had good chemistry. It makes sense. But I don't love the fact that Dewey. Look, we know what happens later when Ghostface gets shot 20 times or whatever. We see what happens. But in this part, we don't know why Ghostface got up and walked away. Ghostface has always been human. He's not Jason Voorhees. He's not Michael Myers. He's been very susceptible to gunshot and everything else. And so, to me, I just don't think that works here. They almost play it for a joke that Ghostface, he was there, now he's gone. And I just don't think it works. But I like Dewey saving Gale. And like Brian mentioned, a little while ago, he mentioned Gale punching Gale instead of being punched by Sidney Prescott. Obviously, that was supposed to be referencing when she gets knocked the fuck out by Sidney. Uh, I like it because it's meta as fuck, and y'all know how I feel about meta. But I wouldn't even know if that's meta. That's like movie within a movie. Like, I don't know what you call that, but I really do like that reference. But I don't mind the Dewey and Gale stuff here. I just don't like the Ghostface aspect of what we're getting so far. He gets shot 9 times like he's Tupac and walks away. And I just don't think it works here. And again, you get a lot of these you just get too much in this scene. You get too much of the watered down versions of our characters that we love. And I think that's a detriment to this part of the movie.
All right, back at the station with Kincaid, and Gale, she tells him Billy and Stu killed Maureen. Kincaid thinks there might be a third killer. He tells Dewey he needs to talk to her. The mayor is pissed, and Kincaid says Sydney is a problem and asks Dewey again where she is. Dewey calls and begs for her to pick up. Sydney walks in the station and hugs Dewey. She asks if he's okay. Dewey takes her to the side, and she tells him the killer contacted her. Dewey takes Sydney to Kincaid. Gale and her hug. Sydney analyzes the picture of her mother. Dewey was afraid they were trying to trick her out of hiding. They take Sydney to set, and Martha Meeks appears and tells them they need to see this tape. It's Randy. This is a tape acknowledging he's dead. This video is here to help them and honor his death. Is this another sequel, or is this the concluding chapter of a trilogy? True trilogies are about going back to the beginning to reveal something that wasn't true. There's 3 rules. You got a super killer who's superhuman. Anyone, including the main character, can die, and the past will come back to get you. Some of you, I'll see you soon. They hug Martha, and she asks Dewey to visit soon. Gale leaves and tells him to figure out where those pictures were taken. Jennifer tells Gale, from now on, I go where you go, since she has nothing now. The 2 women go inside the archive building and into the basement. They find Bianca and give her the photo of Maureen. They say she looks like Princess Leia. Gale tries to bribe her, but it doesn't work. Jennifer now gives her ring worth $2,000. Bianca now gives her a file on Rena Reynolds, Maureen's stage name. She tells them the movies Maureen was in were John Milton's movies. Then they run out. Sydney is in the bathroom washing her face, shaking. She hears a noise in the bathroom stall. She kicks it open, and it's Angelina, the woman playing her. She has a Ghostface mask, making her look real suspicious. She tells her she wanted to make Sydney proud with her portrayal. She says she wished it would have worked out. She runs out the bathroom. Sydney goes to take her brush and walks the set of Stab 3. She sees the house and the news van and wagon. She sees the garage with Tatum's death, then goes inside and sees Sid's room. She hears Billy's voice replaying the scene in her head. She hears some commotion outside and looks out the window. She hears the door shut and pulls her spray out. Sydney opens both doors and watches, then Ghostface appears behind her, slamming her to the ground. She punches him and runs back inside, yelling for Dewey. She's chased up the stairs, and she pushes a cart and throws a potted plant at him. She almost falls off the set, and she throws Ghostface to the bed below. She yells for Dewey again. She hears Sydney, I'm in here, and follows the voice. Yes, Mother will protect you. Come into the bedroom. She sees the bloody room and hears Billy and Stu. Now she turns around and sees a person in a bloody sheet talking like her mom and walk towards her. She falls out the window, and Dewey runs up. She says she heard her mother's voice and the killer was there. Kincaid runs up to her, and they say no one is up there. All right, go ahead, Brian.
I got a lot on this set of scenes, so bear with me here, guys. But just to start off, look, by the way, this whole just a few cops investigating in this small little tight-knit circle, it works all well and dandy when it's in Woodsboro, but it's in fucking Hollywood. Like, this would be a much bigger deal than it is made out to be here, which is another reason I don't like this really being set in Hollywood. You know, and they talk about Neil Prescott not being any help in the investigation. I mean, that would have kind of been nice to see, you know, and not just here. Maybe give a little bit more investigation to this investigation. I love how they referenced Seven or Silence of the Lambs earlier. Sorry, Kruger, this isn't near that sort of film. And what kind of fucking gall would you have to even insinuate it? But I liked the reunion with Sydney and Dewey. The music felt a little bit off. It didn't have that quite same feel as it did in part 2. And you can actually see her in this scene still wearing those Greek letters that Jerry O'Connell gave her in Scream 2. I can't remember, was that before or after or during that amazing, I think I love you. What am I so afraid of? I'm not sure. Anyway, Wardrobe.
Chris Jericho, will you please shut the hell up? Not you, him. Sorry.
But anyway, wardrobe and the continuity I think was on point there with that Sid with Sid this whole movie, and I like how they don't really call attention to it. It's just a nice little Easter egg there. Randy's sister, I'm not opposed to this whole thing, and the video, the whole deal is fine. That actually really seems like something Randy would do. I just don't like how it's once again almost like it's an afterthought. Like, okay, we came up with this cool way to resurrect Randy. Where should we put it? We'll have a sister jump scare everyone at exactly the right time. You know, say, don't shoot, I'm only 17. Like, okay, your age mattered. Why there? But also just conveniently have the tape in her hand when she happened to run into all three of them at the exact. I mean, come the fuck on with that writing. Jesus fucking Christ. But I thought the video itself and their interaction with Dewey was really good. Giving the trilogy rules, I liked that a lot. And dare I say, that was actually well written. And, Courtney Cox laughing right there actually felt real. Whether it was or whether it wasn't, I don't know. But it really felt that way. But then, God, we get, I'm going to stick with you because someone wants to kill me and kill you and kill me and kill you. And fucking Christ, man. Like, just awful and annoying. I love the Carrie Fisher cameo. A couple of things about that, though. I was actually going to ask Nika who she played in Star Wars, but she says it here, so I can't really pull a Mark Hamill there. Sorry for the bullying. But anyway, Fisher is apparently a very good script doctor and rewrote a lot of George Lucas's awful dialogue that he wrote for her throughout the Star Wars movies. And the point of that is to say that she even apparently rewrote her lines in this. And Jamie Lee Curtis was offered that role and turned it down. I think it worked on both levels. I think either way, and I think I really liked seeing Carrie Fisher, again on screen. Also, it was a cool little throwback where Sydney finds Angelina in that bathroom. It's apparently an exact replica as the only one, as the one in which Sydney was attacked in the first Scream movie. Doors, soap dispenser, everything. So that's pretty cool. But finally, and this is the biggest part of why this is my favorite set of scenes in the whole movie, and maybe the whole franchise besides the original for obvious reasons. But Sydney walking back on the replica set of the original movie, I mean, you even get that music cue and those little touches like Tatum's blood being on the garage door and PG-13 relationship conversation playing in her head, and even that awesome trick she did with the hallway and the closet doors like in the first one. Even the little unexpected doors to nowhere, like would be on a set that you wouldn't expect. I thought it was just so fucking awesome. Like, it got me with the nostalgia on that scene. And shocker, it's not just me hating on Kruger, I promise, but this was literally an added scene by Craven, who paid himself to have the sets constructed because he knew that he wanted to some way revisit the original in some manner. And so he just added this scene in. Just slow golf clap.
Yes, sir.
To Wes. My favorite scene in probably all of the sequels so far. And I know that's like a big thing, but to me, it hit me that hard. I really liked it a lot. And to answer your question, Mike, about why they would even be in it, there was a part in here that explained it. They said that they were getting ready to do the flashback scenes. So they were doing some flashback scenes in Stab 3 to either Stab 1 or Marine's death or both. But that's why they had that set in the movie. That's why it was their movie explanation for having it in there.
Okay, well, fair enough. This set of scenes is so heavy on the things, the positives that you mentioned, or at least in my opinion. I like now this is the Sydney that I like, and everything else in the set of scenes kind of takes a backseat to me outside of the Randy cameo, Jamie Kennedy, and the stuff that goes back to the original Woodsboro sets. I know Brian kind of mentioned the plot holes on the Randy scene, but I'll be honest, man, I love that character, and so I love him being in this movie. Even if it's for a little bit, and I think it makes a whole lot of sense. He's explaining what the third part of a horror or any trilogy means. You throw all the rules out the window. Kind of an exposition dump, but the good kind. Explaining exactly what's going on here, and it's very meta to everything else. So I appreciate that, and I appreciate Jamie Kennedy being in this set of scenes. I love all this stuff with the old Woodsboro sets, man. I don't, until Brian told me that, I didn't know why they were there, but I do appreciate how to detail they all were. And I love the way this set of scenes is shot. You feel for Sidney Prescott. It's scary. I think it's done very serious. And I love the acting here. I think it's so good. And again, you feel for that character, Sidney Prescott, again, because before she didn't have like this major role. She hasn't been in this movie a ton. And this set of scenes kind of brings me back to 1996, whether it not just be the sets, but the acting right there, I think is phenomenal by Nev. I mean, her crying in this feels so damn real. Again, this set of scenes to me is very well done, from the Randy cameo all the way to the stuff back at the old Woodsboro sets, and even down to the garage. I think that is so perfect. Like, I just love that they rebuilt these sets and they featured them. So this is definitely, to me, the best set of scenes, because it gives me one of my favorite characters back, and it gives me some stuff from the first film, which is one of my favorite movies of all time. Whether I like them being there or they made sense to me before Brian explaining that, it's kind of irrelevant, because I just think they're done so damn well. So that's why this is my favorite set of scenes.
Sidebar, like, how weird does it have to be shooting a movie on the set of a movie set? Like, I don't know. It's to me, that seems like super weird that you're like on a movie set watching another movie set. Like, I don't know. It's weird.
Angelina is being interrogated now, saying she took the mask as a souvenir. Sidney tells Kincaid he or she was in there. Dewey tells her they believe her. Gail shows Dewey a picture of Sidney's mother. She was an actress. Roman is in John Milton's office bitching about his movie being shut down again. Dewey, Gail, and Jennifer barge in, bringing up Rena Reynolds. Roman shuts the door as he leaves. They ask about Rena. John says she was a bit player in a few of his movies. Jennifer says she's obsessed with making money over her. He admits to remembering her. He didn't tell anyone, imagine the press. Gail asks what happened to Maureen when she was in Hollywood. John says it was the 70s. He was well known for his parties. He says maybe she got taken advantage of while she was at one of his parties. Kincaid tells Sidney in trilogies all bets are off. He says his job is haunting. He knows what it's like to see ghosts in your head. Kincaid now asks Sidney what she knew about her mom. She had a secret life. I don't know who my mom was, she says. He tells her he's off to search the set. I know how to deal with regular flesh and blood killers. Sidney asks him what's his favorite scary movie. My Life, he says, and she agrees. Dewey drives Gail and Jennifer, and he gets a call from Sidney. Sidney says she's on her way to meet John Milton to talk about her mother. Dewey says, I guess we're going to the party after all. Roman lets Dewey, Gail, and Jennifer in. He didn't invite Sidney over, he says. Roman says he's going to go check this place out, and Tyson stops him, saying everyone ends up a shish kebab. Jennifer goes with Roman. He says the screening room is in the basement, and Roman walks down. Tyson and Angelina walk around. Roman and Jennifer shit-talk each other, and he opens a freezer to see a prop in it. Dewey uses caller ID and calls back the last number. They hear the phone in the closet on top of a Ghostface costume and the voice changer. It's got all our voices. Dewey and Gail split up to find the others. Dewey finds Tyson, and he tells Tyson Stab 3 is back in production. Gail goes into the basement. She opens the freezer and sees Roman with a knife in his chest and checks his pulse. Jennifer jumps out, scaring her, asking if he's dead. Gail yells, yeah, very. They run upstairs calling for Dewey. Angelina pops out and says she's found a secret lair. They tell her Roman's dead, and she says she isn't dying with second-rate celebrities. She runs off and is stabbed to death by Ghostface and drug away. They get back to Dewey, and Ghostface appears. He punches Dewey and cuts him. Tyson charges but gets stabbed in the gut. Ghostface kills Tyson as he runs away. He snatches the carpet under him, and he falls and breaks his neck. Then he's thrown out of a window by the pool. Jennifer gets into a secret lair, but runs into Ghostface. She runs away and sees Dewey through a two-way mirror. Dewey and Gail can't see her. Dewey shoots the mirrors as Ghostface kills Jennifer with multiple stabs. They leave the room and call for Tyson. They split up again as Gail is grabbed from behind. He tries to stab her, but she kicks them down the basement stairs. Dewey finds Tyson's dead body and calls for Gail. Dewey's phone rings and is Gale in the basement trapped. He doesn't believe her until he hears a scream. He goes to shoot him, but no bullets. Ghostface chunks the knife at him, hitting him with the butt of the knife, knocking him unconscious. Of course, Dewey would get hit with the butt of a knife.
So bad. That's so dumb. That's so dumb.
Brad Pitt would never. Go ahead, Brian.
That's that. I want to give this set of scenes compliments, but that writing really bugged me. Sorry. Go ahead, Brian.
Ninja Star.
Ninja Star. and look, not to bring us down again, but this is one of those like creepy, too close to life conversations that we have with John Milton, who, by the way, Christopher Walken almost played here too. I failed to mention that, but between John and
Prescott, I can't do him, but you know,
yeah. But between John and Roman, and about how there are plenty of criminals in Hollywood, and how bad press would be good for his mystique, and this whole fucking thing, like she asked for it. I wonder if Weinstein like wrote this entire scene like he was really saying it. I don't know. It just really makes me feel uncomfortable, especially like knowing that backstory with Weinstein. But this scene with Patrick Dempsey and Neve Campbell, I think is played very well, especially knowing Dempsey was hired the day before to memorize these lines. But just the setting of the conversation, I don't know, it seems odd. Like it just seems like a very comfortable, and I know like this is even in here to make him a red herring, but it seems like a very comfortable conversation that should have been had like in a more comfortable setting. The police station just seems, police station with like 10 people in it. It just seems way less personal than the conversation that they're having is. I don't know. Just my 2 cents there. Lastly, pretty cool connection to Milton's mansion, though. It's actually the same house that they used as the school in Halloween H2O 2 years prior. Listen to our review of that at don'tgooutthere.com. But here's where the movie to me really drags a lot. Like, I may disagree with Mike if you said you were going to talk good about this set of scenes. But to me, like this movie, it really drags right here. We still have nearly 45 minutes left, even at this point. And, and seriously, Gale checks Roman's pulse in the basement, doesn't she? I mean, why even have her do that if he's going to turn up to be the killer? It just seems like a huge plot hole you could have avoided. And I get
Roman's the killer.
Well, and I get the whole clusterfuck seriously about the pages being written. They may not even know Roman was going to be a killer at that point, but like, don't even put it in there. Even if you think that he's going to be, like, it's just, you don't think that that's going to be a huge plot point or plot hole, but okay. Then we get this absolutely awful side punch to Dewey at the top of the stairs where obviously literally nobody heard or saw him coming up the stairs. Plus it's just unrealistic and dumb that he would stab the characters like Tyson, who you just want to get rid of, but then he decides to punch the others like Dewey when the whole movie is about you taking revenge and killing people. Look, fuck, it's frustrating. Even the two-way mirror scene with Posey, you just did that with them in part 2, and the sound booth, and Dewey just stands there and he fucking gets hit with a knife in this scene. Just stands there. Okay, anyway, go ahead, Mike.
Shows the incompetence of Officer Dewey or Deputy Dewey or Deputy Doofus or whatever. Anyway, so look, I will say this about this set of scenes. I like the fact that we're finally getting some Ghostface being Ghostface. Now, I don't love who the Ghostface ends up being, but I think some of the kills and the way they shoot this house, by the way, this house is fucking cool. This is a cool house to use for this set of scenes to me. I think it works really well. And the way that Wes decides to shoot certain things, I think are awesome. And I love the way that Ghostface isn't so lit in this movie to me. Like he's not necessarily in the dark like Freddy Krueger, but kind of like shadowed a little bit. And I think that works really well. It's effective. It makes him a little bit creepier. And if now that we, with hindsight, we know that it's Roman, makes sense because he's a little bit of a creepy, weird guy. And he kind of displays that here when he takes Parker Posey into the, whatever. But I think that all the light characters dying was needed. It was very necessary because they obviously weren't going to kill any of the main 3, even though I think they did a pretty good job, though, of making you not necessarily think they were going to die, but keeping the possibility there that one of them could die. Obviously, Sydney, no, because she's going to come in and save the day. But I could have seen a Dewey risking his life in this set of scenes, or vice versa for Gale. And I think that they kind of play that up really well here. So I like a lot of the way this set of scenes is shot. There's stuff I don't like. The dialogue stinks. There are characters I don't care about, but we do get some Ghostface being Ghostface, and I like that about this movie, or about this set of scenes. I gotta tell you, I already said it. I gave away my lead here. Dewey getting hit in the head with the butt of the knife is bad fucking writing. It is not good. It bugs me every time I see it, because what are the chances that a knife gets flung at your forehead and you get hit with the butt of the knife? No.
But you just stand there and watch it come at you all the way up the stairs. And
that's another thing. You get a knife flung at me, man, I'm jumping the other direction. What? And I know everyone's like, you don't know what you do in that moment. I have pretty good confidence that I would jump out of the way of a knife flinging at my head. Okay? And so all of this made Dewey look like typical Dewey. And I know you have to keep that, going a little bit, but I feel like this is a time for him to become a little bit more serious Dewey. It's very bothersome, especially for the next set of scenes. By the way, the last thing we get from Dewey, or the next to last thing we get from Dewey, makes me really angry. But I'll save that. But I don't hate the set of scenes, though. I don't like the characters that get killed off. I'm kind of glad they're gone. But I do like that we get Ghostface doing his thing. And, I know it's just a lot of stabs over and over again. But I find it pretty enjoyable. To me, Brian, I know you said this is where the movie drags a little, and it does. But this is at least
for me,
right. But to me, this is at least a little bit of fun. Now, characters make bad decisions. That's every Scream movie. And even Ghostface is kind of dumb in this movie. But at least we get a little bit of what I would call chaos, a little bit of fun. Less dialogue stuff that Nico kind of touched on, and we get some fucking kills up in this piece. So I was happy to see that.
All right, here's the ending, y'all. Sydney is reading a book at the station, then sees her file. Sydney's phone rings, and the person mocks everything she says. I only hear you too, Sydney. It's Ghostface. Sydney overhears Dewey and says, if you attract anyone, I'll kill them both. She goes into a closet and talks to Ghostface. Dewey yells not to come, but Ghostface says he wants her, not them. Don't you want to know who killed your mother, he asks. I'll call you when you're on your way, and he hangs up. How does she know where he's at, though? Sydney looks through the filing cabinet and finds a little gun.
It's bad writing, Nico. That's how.
Exactly.
It's not good.
She makes it to the house. She sees Tyson's dead body by the pool. Ghostface calls again and tells her to use the metal detector and to check herself with it. He has her show the gun to him. She throws it in the pool, and he tells her to come inside. She sees them tied up, and she hangs up. She goes to untie Dewey, but Ghostface appears. Sydney pulls out another gun, shooting him. Gale notices he's gone. Sydney goes to find Ghostface, and Kincaid appears around the corner with his gun. He tells her he's here to help and put the gun down. Kincaid pushes her out the way, and Ghostface stabs Kincaid. The two men fight now. Sydney shoots at him and tells Ghostface to come get her. She hides in her room and notices the bookshelf is like there's a secret door. She hides behind it. She hears her mother calling for her again. She sees some home videos playing, and a woman in a bloody sheet walks out. Don't you remember your mother? But it's Ghostface. Sydney is trapped in the room with him. He had on a bulletproof vest. He reveals he's the other half of Sydney. Ghostface is Maureen's son, and he reveals himself as Roman. She didn't accept him as her son. He tells Sydney about the home movie he made of her cheating. Dewey finally gets free and unties Gale. They get to Kincaid, and he gives Dewey a gun. He pulls John Milton out bound and gagged. He says he calls this. This is the room where their mother was fucked 3 ways from Sunday. John tries to bribe Roman, but he cuts his throat, throwing him to the ground. You're going to pay for the life you stole from me, Sid. Roman snaps and charges her. They fight, and Roman finally gets the upper hand. He chokes her, and Dewey shorts the electric out. Kincaid gets the door open and is immediately hit with a chair. My man Kincaid did not do very well. He wasn't a very good cop in here either. Roman shoots Sydney in the stomach and in the neck area. Roman grabs a knife and shuts the trap door. Roman turns around and Sydney is gone. He looks all over for her as we hear Dewey and Gale still not be able to open the trick door. Roman gets a call, then Sydney appears behind him, stabbing him in the back of the neck. She now reveals she had a bulletproof vest on. She now stabs his chest again. Dewey finally gets the door open and they see it's Roman. Sydney holds Roman's hand and embraces and lets it go. Dewey says, "Be careful. Randy said the villain is superhuman." Dewey shoots him in the head after several chest shots. Roman is dead finally. Now we're back at Sydney's house. Gale and Dewey are on the porch. He asks her to sign his book. She opens the book and sees an engagement ring in it. "Will you?" he asks. They share a kiss and she puts the ring on. Sydney gets to her home with her dog. She doesn't set her alarm. Kincaid is inside with Dewey and Gale and say they're about to watch a movie. The film ends as Sydney walks away from her front door that she leaves open. All right, Brian, what'd you think of the ending?
Well, I mean, you got to remember too that Kincaid wasn't even in this until this last scene, until the producers were like, "What the hell happened to Kincaid?" and made them put him in here in this last little bit here, which is again terrible writing. But just jumping ahead, like, why the hell is Kincaid with them at the end, like watching the movie? He almost at the end is almost like insinuated that he's Sydney's new boyfriend or something. Like, wait, what? I don't know. It was just.
I think that's what I took from that.
Yeah, it was weird. Where did that come from? But anyway, like I hate at the beginning of this, going back to the beginning of the setting scenes, like the police files that she opened. I thought that was kind of dumb that they had newspaper clippings, apparently. No handwritten notes, just newspapers, apparently. Like that's how cops work or something. And, a little fun fact, Wes Craven actually, Colin talked about this a little bit. He filmed 3 different endings, didn't even tell the cast which one, he was going to use, for the secrecy. And another little fun fact, at around an hour and 45 minutes, when Sydney jumps over that bar and stabs Roman in the back with the ice pick, Neve Campbell actually missed the pad that she was supposed to plunge the pick into and actually hit Scott Foley's back flesh. Like his scream is genuine, which brings me to the coming back at the end. I thought that was super cheesy. I hated that. The superhuman, oh no, he's back again. It took away from it was weird, but a decently genuine scene with them holding hands, as he died. And then he comes back. I don't know. It erased all of that. But, and I saw earlier, and this is, I think, the only question I really saw because I replied to it on Twitter, but this is me. This is what I would have done to respond to Shan's question. Like, this movie has been what it's been up to this point, obviously. Okay. Like, I think the big 3 did great with what they have, but I think that this is a Dewey and Gale movie, which is perfectly fine with me. It was probably a good change, honestly, to avoid the monotony of, the same shit over and over with Sydney. But man, like, what if the killer's motives weren't even after Sydney? Like, what if you had them somehow connected to Gale or Dewey, and then you had Sid? Like, to me, that would have been an awesome twist. Like, you think they're going after Sid, but really, sorry, we're not here for you. Like, I don't know. I think that would, and just you had Sid just be the side character. That would have been fine because of her shooting schedule anyway. It would have worked out. I think I would have liked that a lot better.
And that's why I think Wendy Peppercorn is the killer in Scream 5.
Well, I mean, and
Officer Judy.
Okay, well, maybe. It's just, as long as, but what I mean, it doesn't really necessarily matter to me that Roman's the killer. It's just like, if you had him connected to Dewey and Gale and not Sydney, I guess is what I'm saying. Like Nico has the problem with it being a family member 2 times in a row. Like, this would have broke that up. It would have broke that monotony up a little bit, I think. And honestly, straight hand to God, I forgot that they got engaged at the end of this, because that's how few times I've actually watched this, I guess, all the way through. Or like the stuff that sits with me was not that. And so when I watched it, I was like, oh yeah, shit. I forgot about that scene. I don't know. I guess I've seen the first hour and a half, maybe 450 times, but I've only seen that ending, I guess, a few times. But anyway, that's kind of where I'm at with this whole thing and what I would have done if I was making the end of that anyway.
Okay. I hate this reveal. I think it's so bad. I don't care about the character of Roman. I think it's terrible, man. And it's unfortunate because, like I mentioned, I don't hate the set of scenes before this. I know a lot of other people do, and that's fine. I understand. But at the same time, this reveal really kind of ruins. I'm not a fan of retconning what came before unless it makes absolute perfect sense. To me,
Right.
this is shoehorning. This is shoehorning in a. It's not. It doesn't work. I don't care about Maureen Prescott, so I don't care about Maureen Prescott's illegitimate child that happens to be Sidney Prescott's half brother. Like, I don't care, and I don't think it works. Your prequel is the only thing that makes it work, and that movie technically doesn't exist, Brian. And so, I think this really drags the movie down. I will say this. I do like some of the suspense. I actually like the stuff at the police station with Sydney. I think it's good. I think the acting by Nev there is really good. She just has this great ability that when she cries out of whether that be fear or anger even, she does a really good job displaying that emotion. And I think it's so good, especially in this set of scenes here. I think she's smart to grab a gun. How she knew where that gun was up to someone else, I guess. But it's there, and she's smart enough to look for one. She's smart enough to grab it. She's also smart enough to have another because my girl Sid stays packing, so we appreciate that. But I actually like Ghostface being smart about, the metal detector and all that, how that metal detector was just there. It's not that it's a loophole, but I like that Ghostface was like, hey, I don't think so. You're not coming in here with a gun. Look, I like that Ghostface isn't a complete idiot, at least. But I just think this set of scenes drags what came before it. You kind of talked about what we talked about it 2 sets ago that I think is a really solid chunk of this movie. Like it gets a big thumbs up from me. And for me, I actually don't hate the next set of scenes, but you get this. And outside of some suspense and some good acting by Nev and David Arquette even, and Courtney Cox, there's just not a whole lot here that I care about. And this is one of those endings that goes on too long. To me, this reminds me of the first and second Chucky, where they don't know when to actually kill off Chucky. It takes them forever. Chucky keeps coming back to life. That kind of reminds me of this, where I just think, man, he's dead. He should be dead. And I know in the third movie they're supposed to be quote unquote indestructible, but this Roman guy should definitely not be that character. I just don't think it works. I will say it made me laugh when when Dewey's shooting him in the chest again, even though he just did that. He just did that, and it did not fucking work. Or he saw it happen, and it didn't fucking work. He did it earlier in the movie, and it didn't fucking work. And he does it again, like the guy's going to be not wearing his bulletproof vest suddenly. He's out, he must not be wearing that anymore. No, you moron. Shoot him in the dick, the head, somewhere. Come on, Dewey. Anyway, bad detective work. I don't care what anybody says. Bad cop work. But he's not a cop in this movie, so I'll let him off the hook a little bit. But, yeah. And even the end here, Brian, I actually am going to disagree with you a little bit. I like it. I think it kind of, our three amigos are actually friends, which is, there's always going to be this weird tension with Sydney and Gail. But I like that right here, they're a little bit more friends. In the third, when they first meet each other in this movie, there's an awkward hug. And by the end of this film, they're kind of friends. They've been through enough now. They're over all the Cotton Weary stuff because Cotton Weary is dead. And they found out more about Maureen and everything wasn't as it seems. And so now they're friends. Jumping ahead to the fourth one, the first time I see each other, they just straight out hug. So at least by the end of this film, all their past stuff is kind of buried. And I like that there's some symbolism with that. And that Sydney leaves the door open to let the world know she's not just scared of every little thing because of what's happened to her. Now, personally, if I'd been through what Sydney been through, I'm closing my motherfucking door. Kiss my ass. But I think that was kind of, a little bit of on-the-nose symbolism that she's willing to let all that go and just be free and not worry about the next Ghostface that comes up. She's going to take it on and kick its ass too. So, As much bad as there is, I do like the very, very end that we get.
The only thing, Mike, just to defend myself, the only thing that I didn't like about that whole scene at the very, very end was Kincaid. Yeah, I just thought it was weird.
And that's understandable.
Yeah. I mean, I would have loved just the big three there for sure.
Yeah. No, that's understandable. Hell, we should have made our logo these three. Fuck those other three. just Dewey, Gale, and Sydney. We should have made our logo.
I was thinking, which, like the screen face? Okay, gotcha.
That would have made Nico real happy. Just look at his face.
Absolutely not. I will say that Sydney had on the world's strongest bulletproof vest. That last shot by her neck was a little questionable. But
also, Nev Campbell, call me sometime.
I was waiting on that one, Mike.
Courtney Cox, not with this haircut, but call me sometime.
You can tell Mike's getting close to getting married because them call me sometimes been getting later and later in the episode.
They're here. Yep. But they are here. And that will always remain, brother. Especially with Nev Campbell. That ain't ever going away, Chief. I had that poster on my wall, son.
All right. Me and Brian don't have any fun facts. Mike, you want to just jump into the budget?
Yeah.
Or if you have any fun facts?
No, I think we kind of covered all the ones we had. I will say I will recommend if you see, and I think it's free on YouTube. You can find a free version, not to like take money away from anyone, but there's a documentary called Still Screaming, and I think it's made right around the time before Scream 4, maybe. But they kind of cover the trilogy or the original trilogy, the making of all three of those movies and everything. I think it's really good. It's on the Blu-ray of Scream 3, or it comes in the box set Blu-ray of all 4 Screams, which I think you have to buy from Canada, if I'm not mistaken, but I just got it on Amazon. It was like $12 or whatever it was. So I thought I think that's definitely worth the watch if you want some actual fun facts or more fun facts about this movie. The budget for this movie was $40 million, a bump up from Scream 2. And you can tell in some of the scenes, you really can, that the budget has gone up pretty significantly as the 3 movies go on. But that doesn't always make it a better film, because I don't think you have to be as creative when you're not on as tight of a budget. The box office was $161.8 million. And I think that is quite that kind of shocks me, because looking at the numbers, man, this movie, I mean, obviously it made a lot of money, but it's not well received by a lot of people. I know now, just like Rob Zombie's Halloween 2, and I wanted to bring this up at the top of the show, like Rob Zombie's Halloween 2, the last year or so, it's getting a lot of articles that it's misunderstood, it's a hidden masterpiece, blah, 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 blah. And so this movie and Rob Zombie 2 are kind of getting, or Rob Zombie's Halloween 2 are both kind of getting the same treatment in the last few years, where people are seeing it with new eyes. I won't go that far. I won't go. It's definitely not some hidden masterpiece that's misunderstood, but I do think it's at least fun, unlike Rob Zombie's Halloween 2, which is not very fun at all.
All right, let's jump into social media. We had a lot of feedback on this one, so thank you to all our fans. A lot of good questions too. So let's get into it, boys. We're gonna do Twitter first. All right, Matt Sears, really big time fan of the show. I'm one of the few that liked it. It's not a masterpiece, mind you, and I'd have done some things different overall with the villain and with Cotton in general, but I like the film. That's fair, man. I can see it. Former legendary blood donor who came on the. He's still a great friend of the show. Austin Graham, he came on for the platform. He did great. He asked, "This is the worst film of the original trilogy for me. What could have been done to make the film more like the first two? Getting Kevin Williamson back would have helped out a lot."
Yeah, but I don't know what that would have done to Scream 4, because like I said, his treatment had a lot of that, the Chris Nolan, the following in it, and a lot of Scream 4. Like, it was a bunch of people looking for fame, basically, that he used for Jill and everybody else in Part 4. So I love Part 4 so much, I almost am fine with this being what it is, because that's what it led to.
What was
Absolutely.
that, Mike? Okay.
I said absolutely on that.
Sean, is this too meta? Would it be better if they didn't go as hard into the meta? Yes. That's
No.
There's no such thing as too meta.
No
I didn't
such
think.
thing.
So,
Meta
no such
stinks.
thing.
Stinks.
Oh God.
It's almost as bad as Color Out of Space. I'm sorry. Lord, I apologize.
Are you okay? Well, you didn't mean it. You didn't mean it. You're emotional. Talking
man likes the
emotionally.
Babadook, but doesn't like Meta.
He didn't mean it.
Babadook's way better than Meta.
No, God. Some fucking screaming, annoying ass little kid. The whole fucking film. Get the fuck out of here, bro.
Yeah, man. Talking a voice box is great.
No, I said that was bad. I admitted that was bad.
Hey, everybody knows that kid's annoying, but his dad got killed. I'd be pissed. I'd be fucked up too.
Still annoying.
All right, Hunter Nelson. He said, I get a lot of people don't like this one, but I enjoy it. And here comes a hot take, fellas. And honestly, I'd rank them in order as released. Don't agree with you there, brother.
Oh, no, Hunter. No. Oh, God, no. No. 1, 2. You know what? I am going to change my rankings on the fly, though. Hot take, breaking news.
Don't do it. Don't do it.
4, 3, 2. There, I said it.
Hell no. All right. I respect your opinion, brother. All right, Shan asked, or she tweeted us, definitely my least favorite out of the 4. So we know, Brian's prequel would have made this a better movie. But without that prequel option, who could you have made the killer for a better movie? Or could you still have made Roman the killer, but instead he was just a crazed fan?
I don't know if there. That's the thing about this. Because I don't have any other version of this script that supposedly floated around. I don't really know who I would do, man. I don't think there's any obvious suspect. The only thing I could think of is what I always go to, and this is a fallback for me, is make it Sidney tired of being a fucking victim. That's the only thing I could think of. But outside of that, man, I just don't have any dead set person. I think maybe making Kincaid the killer, like I kind of mentioned earlier, may have worked a little bit better than having it be Roman. Now, I wouldn't have loved that either, but I would have liked it more than Roman. I still think the perfect killer in the third movie is Sidney, but that's just me.
But I already kind of answered this in my closing, but my perfect killer is it can be Roman, that's fine. But just don't have him related to Sidney. Don't even have him going after Sidney.
I'm fine with
have
that
him
too.
going after Dewey and Gale. Have him somehow tied to Dewey and Gale. Something either she did or they did or something. That it doesn't even matter. It's a better movie. Just that. But anyway.
I'm just going to say I agree with Mike. Outside of picking one of the big 3, I can't think of another person who should be the Ghostface, honestly.
Dewey should never be Ghostface.
Oh, he'd be too doofy.
Yeah, that doesn't work for me.
Sidney would whoop his ass in about 5 minutes.
Yeah, the only one out of the big 3 I would like to see be the killer is Sidney.
Then my man spiced out Calvin Coolidge. That's a great name.
Great name.
He said, this one is going to be bad when Creed is playing so early on.
Warning.
All right, let's go over to Instagram now. We got some really good questions. Queen is Elizabeth 717 says, do you guys believe Patrick Dempsey will make an appearance in the new one? They always left it like he and Sidney were going to become friends or possibly more.
No. Nah. If we didn't see him in 4, I don't think we're going to see him in 5 Cream.
Yeah, I'm with you. But all right, my man Nick, Jolly Saint Nick 96, he wrote, no spoilers, but I've always felt like this movie was a betrayal to the lore established from the previous films. It doesn't make sense and cheats at the ending. However, I really do like how absurd the Jay and Silent Bob cameo is.
Well, at least somebody was able to get real Jay and Silent Bob. Unlike Freddy vs. Jason, they had to get melded for Jay and Silent Bob.
That's true. I mean, that's true.
Yeah, Freddy vs. Jason's better than this. Anywho, Danny C. Naps.
I agree with that, but not by much. I don't know if I agree with that. Come back to me at the end of the film.
I don't know.
Hey, we had Robert Englund and Ken Kersinger. Who have we got from Scream? All right, anywho, Danny C. Knapp said...
Well, that doesn't make their movie better. It just makes our friends of the show.
Admittedly, I am not the biggest Scream fan. I blame Scary Movie for this, which we've touched on in the past.
Yes, we have.
But I don't really remember this movie, so we're definitely going to watch it before the review. Danny, you and Joe, I appreciate y'all, and we're going to get this up as soon as we can because I know you're going to ask us. Chris _2020, still I'm not over how coincidental the scene with the exploding house is. Seems straight out of a cheesy B movie with how many dominoes had to fall in order for the kill to even happen, LOL.
I didn't touch on that in my scene by scene, but I meant to. I just want to say, exploding house scene, hold on. Hold your applause. Worst scene in the whole fucking movie. Awful.
It isn't, and you could tell his body was so CGI. It was terrible.
I actually liked the body blowing up. I will say that again. Like, to me, that was a pretty cool little. Like, I didn't even think it was long enough for you to be able to tell that it was bad CGI. Me anyway.
I'd rather hear Creed play on a loop.
Wow.
Hey, Creed's got some good songs.
No doubt.
I don't hate Creed, but I don't necessarily like this song. But anyway, go ahead.
That's fair. All right, we only got two more. Scott C 2410. My question is, why was this movie even made? It's embarrassingly awful. I'm not going to disagree with you, but I'll let Brian and Mike defend its honor.
Yeah, you could have gone without making this movie for sure. Because 4 is so good, I don't think you need to see Scream 3. But it's here, and I like the big three of this cast, so I'm fine with it being made. Any movie I get with Gail, Dewey, and Sydney, I'm a fan of that movie, no matter what it is. So I'm glad that they're back.
Yeah, I liked seeing my family. I liked
same here.
It felt home. And yes, I mean, I know I over exaggerated a little bit earlier, but the opening of Scream 1 is my favorite.
It is,
obviously
me too.
seen in the whole Scream franchise. But to me, second is her returning to that Woodsboro set from the first movie, like in this one. Like, I love that scene so much. So, you know, I love that it was made just so I got that scene.
All right. Wait, here's my own question right on, live on our show for both of you. Better scene, and I know what Brian's answer is going to be, but I'm interested to hear Nico's. The scene he was just talking about from Scream 3 with Sydney going through the old Woodsboro sets again, or Emma Roberts beating the shit out of herself to make it look like she survived a mass killing.
Sydney.
Really? Man, that's one of Emma Roberts' best acted scenes of her entire career to me. That's so good. I love it a lot.
I mean, she did a good job, but to me, it just didn't hit me the same way that those do.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
Goat shit.
All right, here's the last one. This comment was hilarious. Mark_Hef said, I was really hoping when this movie came out that it would be Sid and another killer working together because she was sick of being a victim. What did you guys think of the one killer changeup and let's say dodgy squeezing of Roman into the timeline? Personally, I didn't like it. Scream 1 is iconic, and to try to change the reason for that movie was a bad idea. Love the show, boys, and Courtney Cox's hairdresser can call me sometime and explain why he tried to fuck up my day at the movies back then.
Blame David bum-ass Arquette. He's not really a bum-ass, but blame him.
I agree with everything he said, so I can't even really.
Yeah, I tend to agree with him. I think I don't hate the movie like I used to, but it definitely poops on everything that came before it, and that bugs me about that. I don't like when stuff gets retconned for no reason.
I agree with that.
Yeah, I mean, Billy and Stu they're iconic for this franchise.
They're woozy here, man.
That movie is complete opposite of this one for me because Scream gets better every time I watch it, but Scream 3 gets worse every time I watch it.
Let's face it, Nico, your mother was no Sharon Stone.
All right, any more final thoughts before you jump into our least favorite kill in the rating?
Let's do it.
Does anybody want to go first in particular?
I'll read Brother Dustin's first if you'd like.
Go ahead.
That's fine. Break the ice.
All right. Here's Brother Dustin, who should be back with us next week. Next week. Scream 3 is a lazy money grab, but I still enjoy it. The voice changer is frustrating because it creates an easy way for the writers to just take shortcuts, which we talked about in this review, to get where they want to go. But it's still more enjoyable than a lot of movies we've covered. Worst of the franchise, but the bar was set pretty high. Favorite kill, Steven Stone. Patrick Warburton is the man, and it was cool to see how much of a badass, he was so much of a badass, that it took a frying pan to drive the knife deep enough to kill him. Sorry, I blubbered that up, but I think you get the gist. Least favorite kill, Tom Prince. You're telling me he couldn't smell the gas? Thank you. I thought the same thing. Come on, brother. Fuck out of here. He said rating 5.75. That was lower than I thought Dustin may give it. Okay.
All right. Who wants to go next? You all want me to just go ahead and go?
I'll go last.
All right, I'll go ahead and go. We'll end on a higher note. Favorite kill? I chose Cotton Weary. I wrote just because he's a well-known person in the franchise, and I appreciated the fact they got rid of a big name. And hot take, Scream 3 might be my second favorite opening of the 4. That's just me, though.
Ooh.
Oh, okay.
Least favorite kill, I chose Roman just because I thought he was pointless and he was a terrible Ghostface. All right, Mike, I'm sorry, but I love you, brother. And I switched my on-call week, so I'm going to be your groomsman, my man. I'm not a fan of this movie. It seems so unnecessary, and honestly, it just gets
doesn't
worse.
hurt my feelings.
And I wrote the movie is way too long. I completely understand wanting to give the fans more movies, but this just isn't it. Sydney's mom is ridiculous. I can't think of many positives outside of I like the big 3 characters. Stopping here because I just don't want to bitch and whine too much. I gave it a 4 out of 10.
That's fine.
More rewatchable than a lot of flicks we reviewed on here, but I just expect more from Wes Craven in these big 3.
I'll
Wes
give
Craven
you
is
guys
a goat. He's a goat.
Yes, he is. I'll give you guys a peek behind the curtain. Nico kind of made me pick this movie for this month.
Well, you picked a different movie. I was like, "Hey, Mike, do you want to add?"
Yeah, and I'm glad you did.
Complete it?
Yeah, and I'm glad you did because it made sense, and we're still reviewing the movie I picked anyway, so that worked out good.
Yeah, you got a 2 for 1, man. 2 for 1.
Yeah, BOGO.
Jesus.
That's how
all
Mike
right, so
stays rich. BOGOs.
no doubt.
That's the only time I shop at Publix. Otherwise, I'm too.
Organic Mike is back.
Organic.
Okay, so and my favorite kill is Cotton as well. I just liked the whole scene. Again, I don't. It's right there, tied for second. I think. I don't know. I'm not real sure where I put it now. My worst kill, least favorite kill, whatever you want to call it. Jenny McCarthy playing Sarah, playing Candy or whatever Parker. I don't know. It's just I didn't like it. Or maybe Parker Posey just dying after being stabbed like two seconds beforehand, and not. I don't know. One of those two. But with all the problems in this, like it just seemed like the movie was kind of almost phoned in, even by Craven. I think as the director, I mean, he should have seen some of these problems and do something about the script. I mean, he's Wes Craven. I mean, he had the power to change this if he really wanted to. So I think that's why I think he phoned it in. I mean, and I don't know if that's true or not. That's just a complete assumption. But it's just kind of the way that the more stuff I hear about it, that's just the way it comes across to me anyway. The big 3, I think, did great. The whole thing, I think, is just shoehorned in at the end. I've tried my best to fix this movie with a million different ways or reasons and headcanon and everything else. But I've never rated a Scream movie below an 8.75. I'm going to give this one a 6.75. I had it at a 7 probably before we started doing this review, and I realized how much I felt myself being mad while I was doing my review.
I agree with you.
So it knocked me down a little bit more. I had it at a 7, but I went down to a 6.75.
I'll say when I watch a Scream movie, I get in that Scream mindset, that Scream universe, and I enjoy it because we get our big 3. But when you sit and kind of pick it apart, this movie makes me more mad than anything because the potential to have a good film is there, and they just absolutely waste it. My favorite kill is Cotton Weary. I think that's a good scene. I think the suspense is good. It's shot a lot like the opening scene in the first one. Obviously not as impactful, but I think it works really well. I don't like the voice changing aspect of it, but I think the kills are really good. So my favorite is Cotton Weary. My least favorite is Parker Posey, Jennifer, whatever, because she just kind of gets – she has the worst stab of the whole film to me, and she just kind of dies so suddenly. I don't think it works. Brian kind of touched on it there. So that's my least favorite. This movie has a lot of problems. I think it's fun if I remove my brain from those problems and just kind of enjoy it as a moviegoer. It's dumb because of the voice changer. It allows shortcuts to be taken. I mentioned Dr. Sartain. I think it's kind of the same thing. It's a plot device where they don't have to actually write better stories. They can just use a voice changer instead. I think that's a problem with this film. Big problem. Also, the problem of the Marine Prescott backstory doesn't work for me. I just don't care. But there's a lot that I love. Like, I love the meta. I think it works so well for me because I'm a big fan of that genre. I think it's awesome in this film. I don't think it's too much. I love the big three. I think some of the other acting is pretty good. Not the characters of our favorite characters, but some of the supporting cast like Kincaid and even Roman. I don't think is badly acted. I just don't like the character. But
Hey, Mike.
yeah.
Hey, while Brian's not looking, I didn't have a problem with Parker Posey.
Hey,
he's right here. He's right here. Oh, jeez. Well, also, Parker Posey, call me sometime. But, yeah, all that being said, is it more enjoyable than some of the stuff we reviewed? Absolutely. We just did Thanksgiving, for the love of God.
Oh, Jesus.
So, and we've done some other stuff, too, that's suspect at best. I'll leave it at that. But this movie does make me angry while we talk about it. When I watch it, I don't get as mad because I get sucked in because I love the franchise. But when we talk about it, I'm like, God, this movie could be so much more. All that being said, Brian, you're not going to believe this. I gave this movie a 6.75.
Hey, let's go.
Our cumulative score is a 5.8125.
Yes, let's go, baby.
And IMDb with 131,205 ratings is a 5.6. So we're basically right there with them.
Wow. Hey, you love how I did that math in my head. I'm so used to counting my money. All right, anyway, I'll see y'all next week.
Hey, we know old Organic Mike's got the money.
No.
I love Organic Mike now.
Man, I shop at Food Line. Get the fuck out.
My man squeezed his own orange juice, drank an organic protein shake.
No, I do not drink. I drink good stuff from GNC, but let's not talk about that.
Anywho, any more final thoughts on Scream 3?
No, man. Glad we got to do it. Glad we finished the franchise. I'm looking forward to this new Scream because I think it's going to be much better than this movie.
I'll just say I'm glad we did do it, Mike, and we're still going to get to do your other pick. So
yeah, me
you
too.
Don't feel cheated out of a pick.
No, but I was going to pick this in January anyway, so works out.
Yeah, I agree. I think this works out a little better, honestly. So
it just doesn't fit it doesn't. It doesn't fit the theme, and we'll get to do my pick for that instead. Which it's about time we did another Ari Aster. So, spoiler.
Okay. And I'll just give a sneak peek. Well, if you follow us on social media, you know what movie we're doing as a bonus. But let's just say we're doing 2 Toni Collette movies in back-to-back months. And it's a Christmas themed movie, so that's gonna be fun. We got a lot planned, coming up. I'll announce my pick real quick. This is an interesting one. I don't know if the fellows have seen this one or not. It's The Autopsy of Jane Doe.
I've seen it.
It's a pretty interesting movie. I've only seen it one time.
Is it still on Netflix?
I don't think so. I think it's on Shudder.
It was for a long time.
It's on Shudder, Mike, if you still have Shudder.
Yep. Okay.
I think this is an interesting movie. I've never seen anything like it. And it's got my man Brian Cox in it. We've done how many movies with Brian Cox we've done? At least 2 of them, I would imagine.
At least 2, yeah.
It's got what's her name from? She's on Haunting a Hill House and Midnight Mass, and can't remember her name off the top of my head.
Yeah, I can't remember either. But I think it's a pretty interesting movie. It'll be fun to talk about.
Yeah.
Oh shoot! Let's shout out our blood donors. I got so enamored with talking about Scream 3 tonight. Let's do the blood donors. All right. Legendary blood donors. We got some film reviews coming up with them. Miss Missy Wall and Joe Larson. We appreciate y'all. I'm looking forward to y'all's reviews. Final girl donor Danny C. Naps. Really appreciate you and Joe. Our camp level reoccurring Clayton J, Nina Michelle Mirza, Andrew Ferguson, Carrie Adams, the Horror Movie Crew podcast, and Alex Seligson. Our camp counselors are Hunter Nelson, Karen Shan Petrusevich, Dennis Kennedy, and Edwin Hernandez Gunn. Just want to shout y'all out. Appreciate y'all. Y'all are awesome. You help us pay for this podcast and make a good product, I'd say. Not to just be a homer, but I think we make a good show.
Absolutely.
We've been getting reviews from all over the world saying we're doing a good job, so I appreciate it. Mike, great choice, Scream 3. I think it like I said earlier, we've all kind of said it feels good to knock out the whole franchise. because I'm not really looking forward to knocking out the whole franchise in Nightmare and Halloween and Friday.
Not wrong, brother.
Because those have got some real big time stinkers in it.
God, do they
Before we
ever.
get there, I'm just going to say I feel where you and Brian are coming from. You get enamored with the big three, and you know, even if you don't think the movie's great, you still think highly of it, I guess you could say, because you love them. That's kind of how I felt with Halloween Kills. I love James U. Courtney so much.
Yep.
Because I don't know if that movie really deserved an 8.25, but I just love him so much. I gave it more. And Conjuring 3, honestly, the more I think about it, I'm not really a big fan of that, but I love Vera and Patrick Wilson so much, I gave him a little bump.
There you go.
I'm done rambling. Appreciate all of our listeners. You guys are the best. Mike, any final thoughts? Brian, final thoughts?
Oh, thank you to everybody. And we're going to do a giveaway for all the blood donors here in the next couple of days. So it's December 9th, 2021. So I'm going to do another giveaway.
Another one.
I already did one low key. I ain't told y'all about.
Apparently.
No final thoughts except for he was in a movie called Stab. He was stabbed. We'll see you next week.